Hey everyone, how's it going? Todd Nauck here. I hope this is working. First time for me to go live with digital. I'm going to be doing my first digital broadcast here on YouTube. So I appreciate y'all tuning in. Hope this is all working out. Just gonna check here on my YouTube channel on my iPad to make sure that the stream is live and that I can watch looks like we're live here, and I can watch your comments come up here. So how are we doing here? Let's just do a little test. Thanks for bearing with me, everyone. All brand new technology, new stuff going on here. So is there a bit of a lag? Just kind of waiting to see it show up here. Drawing now, but it's not showing up on the oh, there we go. Okay, so there's a little bit of a lag. That's all right. That's all right. So cool. So today doing and let me know if y'all can hear me. If you can hear me, or if you can't hear me, please let me know if the audio is coming through. So if you're not hearing me, then we'll need to figure out something else. But if you are hearing me, we will continue on. So if you can hear me, say, "We hear you," "I hear you," or something like that. So and there might be a little bit of a delay based on the streaming. Mic a bit distorted. Gotcha. I'm not sure what to do about that, but if you are hearing me, then that's good. I'll do some mic tweaks for the next broadcast. So it's character mashup challenge. It's been a long time since I've done one of these. A lot of people have asked for the character mashup challenge, so I thought today would be a great day to do that, and it would be fun to do a superhero or comic book character / monster mashup for the for this character mashup challenge, what with Halloween coming up this next week. So on Instagram, I asked for people's suggestions. Hey, wow, look at everybody coming in there. Thank you. Asked people to post a character and a monster, comic book character and a monster. So I picked one person's comic book character. So at random number draw, and the one that came up for the hero was Wolverine. Wolverine suggested by El Toro 215. So we have Wolverine, and we're going to mash him up with a monster, and that came up from Airman 85's suggestion of Cerberus the Three-headed Dog. Both of these are Marvel images, which is great because I work for Marvel. So I pulled up this reference to show you guys the two characters we're going to mash up, which is pretty interesting that we have a character like Wolverine and a monster like Cerberus, because they're both very feral type characters. But so essentially we're going to be doing a three-headed Wolverine in kind of this were-Cerberus sort of human-dog hybrid character, which should be a lot of fun. So what I'm going to do is just move, and I'm working in Clip Studio Paint. We're just going to keep our reference characters up here at the top for the moment, just so y'all can see the two characters that will be mashed up. Ideally, I should have had these on a separate file, but I just have them here on this one layer. So, and I will be answering your questions as best I can, but a lot of my energy is going to go into drawing this thing and being very creative. So it's going to use up a lot of my mental energy, but I will do my best to, answer your questions as well as kind of let you know my work process. So over here on the left-hand side, I'm using a pencil. I have my pencil tool is from the Friendin. I have the Friendin pencils, just using the standard digital pencil. And I start off with about on a 300 dpi image here. This canvas is 300 dots per inch. I start off with like 100 pixel size of the pencil, just for the big broad strokes. So let's see, this is going to be really interesting to draw a three-headed Wolverine. This is going to be really, really strange, but that's the fun of the character mashup challenge. So if I start with the center head, so I'm just using this big, broad pencil tip to just kind of rough in the initial shapes here. So this is all about this, the motion of the character, and I'm going to tighten up as I go. This is pretty much how I do my professional work using digital. I'm drawing on a Wacom MobileStudio Pro 13, and I'm using Clip Studio Paint as my drawing program. So let's see, we'll give him dog legs, some very canine-like legs. Oh man, this is going to be so weird. I was expecting I'll probably pull up a Frankenstein or a vampire, but man, when I saw that I got Cerberus in the random number draw, that it's like, oh man, this is going to be significantly difficult, or more challenging than drawing a vampire. I mean, you make Wolverine a vampire, you just throw some fangs on there and boom, you're done. But here I've got to go full dog on this guy. So well, not full dog, he'll be half man, half dog. Very aware Cerberus. Got to keep the man aspect in there with the dog aspect. So it's really trying just to merge the two aspects of Wolverine and Cerberus is key, and also trying to get a kind of a fun pose going on. And in this stage, I can really get really scribbly. But the nice thing about digital is that I can make adjustments. I can come over here, grab my lasso tool, grab this leg that I've sketched out. Instead of erasing it and redrawing it, I can just adjust it like that. I can widen his stance and fill in the gaps. Go back to the pencil tool there on the left. I like to start with red as my basic color of drawing. Okay, so still gonna have to fit in two other heads here. But I just want to get this initial, I'm going with that classic 5'3" Wolverine. Did y'all know Wolverine is only supposed to be 5'3"? Yeah, that's why he's called a Wolverine. He's a short dude, and which I've always thought was cool about him. He's not, I mean, I didn't mind that Hugh Jackman was 6 foot. I thought he did a great job portraying Wolverine. But having a short Wolverine, short character, short superhero, he just really gave us something different to look at in the comics. It's like you'd have 6'2" Cyclops and 7 foot tall Colossus, and even Kitty Pryde was technically like an inch taller than Wolverine, which I just thought made him look so cool, and he was just so cool and stocky, and I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a really cool aspect. So we got a short, stocky Wolverine, and now we're bringing in all these dog visuals. The dog aspects, very canine-like aspects. So I'm going to reposition this. So I'm just selecting the whole thing and then slide. I can size them up, size them down. Might size them down just a little bit here. Hopefully the Wacom doesn't freeze up on me or anything like that. So he's going to be maskless because we really want that dog face to come through. Start to put in a second head over here. So, and then we'll work those claws in eventually. And then the third head. These will be human dog hybrid heads. Very, like I said, very like Canthropian approach here to Wolverine meets Cerberus. Appreciate everyone posting all these comments. It's great to see them scrolling through here. Yes, I am doing my first digital broadcast, so we're kind of beta testing this here with my first character mashup challenge. Usually I do these have done these historically on my Facebook page, but I thought, you know what, let's just go right into go right into the old the YouTubes. All right, so now I've pretty much got my basic shapes down. They're a bit of a mess, as you can see. I've really just really trying to figure out so much here. I'm just getting some really basic placements for everything, where I want everything to go. And what I can do here now is here on the far right hand side, up in the upper right hand corner on my layer page, I can tamp it down. So we're going to knock it down to about 45% opacity. And then I can create a new layer. And from here I can start, I will make my pencil nib maybe about a 40 down from 100. And I'll shift this to like a blue. And now I'm going to start to structure in the shapes a bit tighter. Just kind of get a really better idea of where everything is. So I want to give him a bit of a snout. Really want to capture that, like a really truncated sort of muzzle, dog-like muzzle. We have a lot of hair going on here because Wolverine's pretty hairy of a guy as it is. You know, he has that classic hairstyle. But I want to work in those canine-like ears. That big, thick dog neck. So this is just taking this bit step by step, bit by bit. And then one kind of up, kind of facing up, howling at the moon. You know, he's got, whenever you see Cerberus, just like here in this reference image, every head is going in a different direction. But oftentimes when you see pictures of Cerberus, he's always, each head is going in one direction or another. I don't see how that guy can keep his head on straight, know which way he wants to go. But, you know, he makes do. Cerberus gets the job done somehow. And so in this stage here of this, now tightening up my shapes and adding a little bit more detail stage, I can continue to make adjustments as I need. Sometimes I'll spin the canvas here. To get the angle I need. Whereas I would spin the whole traditional artboard, here I can just do, instead of spinning the whole tablet, just spin the canvas. I want to give them some real meaty paws. Really bulky arms. See, really, I'm going to zoom in here so I can get the details of the hand. So it's nice to be able to rotate to get the angle I want to draw that fist the way I want. Knuckle, knuckle, knuckle. Arc those fingers around. Thumb. Of course, then the claws have to come out. Nice thing about Wolverine is that you can use the knuckles and the gaps in between each knuckle as a guide for where the claws will come out. Because the claws come out in between each knuckle. So that's a nice guideline there. Okay, let's get this other leg going here. All right. Then we're gonna work in this forearm. Knuckle, 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 knuckle. See how I get that arc going? Rarely do I draw my knuckles straight across. Usually there's the index finger, then it goes up to the middle knuckle, then down to the ring finger knuckle, then down to the pinky. Gives it some nice motion and keeps the hands from looking too blocky. And working those claws there. It'll be interesting to see how I outfit the outfit Wolverine here, or Cerberine as I would call him. Maybe we'll call him Cerberine. So I want to include aspects of his X-Men uniform, but also want to just kind of figure out what would life be like for Cerberine. I'm tempted to maybe go Weapon X with him. You know, he's a oh yeah Weapon X. All right, we're gonna play up some Weapon X aspects of Wolverine here. So you know, he's escaped from the was it Weapon H compound? So so gosh, he had a lot of tech on him, so I'm just gonna kind of rough in some tech. You know, he had all these things hanging about from that Barry Windsor Smith. Golly, I want to pull up some Weapon X reference here just to make sure I get some of that cool Barry Windsor Smith technology. Now I'm having to use my phone for that because it's just easier to pull up. Oh yeah, there we go. There's the shot I was thinking of. Okay. So it's mostly straps, and then he's just got a bunch of computers hanging off of his belt, essentially, is how that looks. Sorry for the pause in drawing, gang. All right, so we don't need these. Just grab my eraser here. Just take out those computer chunks, back to pencil. So we'll have one strap over here, one strap over there. I guess he does wear that helmet. Maybe I'll work in the helmet, or maybe I'll skip the helmet. Put a strap there, and then we have a lot of cables coming off everywhere. All right, so that's got my basic shapes down there. So now I'll turn off my red layer, and now you can see the blue layer much better. Now with that blue line layer, I'm going to lower its opacity, create a new layer over here on the right-hand side. So I lowered the opacity usually down to about 40 or so, and then a new layer, go back to the left-hand side, switch to black, power the details down, or the nib down to maybe about a 20. Might go even thinner, and then from here we'll just start rendering out Cerberine. Weapon C, could we call him? So I want to try to capture some human-like aspects, but dog-like aspects, very werewolfian. It's definitely something I'm keeping in mind. Gonna really zoom in here and get, let's see, I'm going to power this down to a 15. I want to get some nice scary teeth in here. Get that dog tongue going. Be dark up inside of his mouth there. Let's see. Man, I really don't want to lose that helmet. Maybe one of the dogs has the helmet on. Should it be center? Maybe the center Cerberus head? What if I did center here? So I need that. So we got the goggles. Gonna tech his head out. Really capture that classic Weapon X sort of vibe. So I'm referencing some Barry Windsor Smith Weapon X because I want that classic look, but I'm definitely putting my own take on some of this tech here. I'm really just kind of letting it, you know, respecting what had been done in the past, but giving it my own flavor here. Because there are a lot of details on here. Maybe I bit off a bit more than I can chew here for a broadcast, but we'll just keep going as best we can for as long as we can and see how much we can get done. I think having the helmet on here will really, it really is such a key part of Weapon X, the Weapon X Wolverine, that to not have it, I think, would be kind of lacking. And the nice thing is we have two other Cerberus heads that can really just be full feral, full canine. Let's see, I'm going to back up. I don't like those lines here, so I'm just going to back it up. Really get that dome going. Looks like that big, teched out dome. Okay, so let's pump this back up to 20 again. Get some of that Wolverine sideburn action going. Here, see, we've got even more stuff coming off on the sides. All right, so that takes care of this one Cerberus head. The alpha head. I always consider the center head the alpha head. Right now, let's tackle another head here. So I'm keeping in mind the shapes, angles, planes of the head, of the face. I used to draw the Astounding Wolfman when I worked for Robert Kirkman, the creator of The Walking Dead. He also did a superhero book called Invincible, and I did one of the spin-off comics called Invincible Universe. And his werewolf character, the Astounding Wolfman, appeared in many issues. So I got to draw a lot of werewolves. I even drew werewolves in Young Justice as well. We had a whole werewolf storyline in I think it was around the 30 issues of Young Justice, the original Young Justice, the first incarnation of Young Justice. So I'm just kind of pulling from those experiences as far as my shapes for these werewolves. I want four teeth in this bottom row here. One, two, three, four. There we go. So I know where the cheek parts of Cerberine's face are, so I can, let's see here, I have the cheek over here, right there, lightly just roughed in. I can then go from that center striation of his face, and I can pull the hair out, and then pull out or bring through the other side. Right, I have to get rid of Cerberus and Wolverine there. We know what these characters look like. We know who I'm drawing by this point. They're eating up real estate I need to draw. The fan is really whirring here in my tablet. I'm hoping it doesn't overheat here. It's a bit hot here in Southern California here for this October. It's rare that we get this kind of heat wave going on. I guess it's been a little more prevalent in past years, but historically, I don't recall it ever getting quite this hot. I'm really going off the rails here with the hair. I don't even have all this hair roughed out, which I tend to like to have it roughed out before I commit. But I'm just kind of winging it here. But I kind of know where I'm going, know where I'm heading, so just kind of let my brain fused together all the times I've had to draw werewolves, as well as all the times I've drawn Wolverine, to create, or to just kind of blend the two together. See here. I think I really should have thought these choices through. I've chosen the most detailed version of Wolverine and then, when I'm already signed on to do a very, very complicated monster here, or at least a monster that has 3 heads. So it's almost like drawing 3 characters in one. So, yeah, I really should have thought better of this. Appreciate y'all sticking with me. Hope you're all having fun. This has required so much of my brain power, I haven't had a chance to check out some of your questions. Well, looks a lot like a werewolf. Yes, absolutely. I mean, when you're going to merge a human with some sort of feral animal, you're definitely going to get that sort of werewolf vibe. So it's a Cerberus, if you will. Because I want human aspects of Wolverine as well as dog aspects of Cerberus. So that's going to get you into a very werewolfian, lycanthropian sort of territory, for sure. And I have no problem with that. Thanks for the kind words, gang. I've seen some very complimentary stuff coming through, and I appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. Glad you like what you see. And I'm glad that the digital broadcasting here from my tablet is working out so far. I'm going to be drawing a lot of hair, a lot of tech, and 3 dog heads here. Now I'm wishing that the whole Spider-Man and a Dracula had come up. That would have been... we would have been done by now. This drawing would have been in the can if I had drawn a vampire, if I'd gotten Spider-Man and a vampire. See, I don't like that little hair flip right up there. So I want to tackle the top of his head one more time here. And this is just the penciling stage, gang. There's still like a whole inking stage and maybe even coloring. Let's pull this hair down here because Weapon X has longer hair than usual, than normal Wolverine. Like I said, I'll be drawing a lot of hair, a fair amount of tech, and and 3 dog heads. Which might end up being the title of my memoir. A lot of hair, a fair amount of tech, and 3 dog heads. That's a terrible title. I will not use that for my memoir. What characters are getting mashed up? Thanks for tuning in. Yes, we are from my Instagram post. The randomly chosen hero was Wolverine, submitted by El Toro 215, and then the second randomly selected character, which this time was the monster, was Cerberus the Three-headed Dog. And so now I've got I'm mashing up these 2 characters to make Cerberine, or Weapon C. And in so many ways, I'm regretting choosing the Weapon X version of Wolverine to mash up here. A lot more detail than you would think. You'd think a naked guy with some computer bits on him wouldn't be so difficult to draw. Well, for one, Wolverine is a hairy dude, so you got that going on. And then computer tech can be a little bit more time-consuming to draw than one would initially think. Let's give him some longer nails here, almost like borderline dog claws. I really do want to take this to inks, especially in this broadcast if there's time. If not, then we'll just do this strictly as a penciling video, and maybe we'll tune in another time for inks, and then maybe another time for colors. Because at this rate, this illustration could take all day and into the night. I don't know if we all have time for that. I'm going to give him extra hair on his arms here, like he has fringe hanging off of the back sides of his forearms here. Maybe we'll put fringe on his shoulders. And he'll have regular human arm hair as well. See if we can put this fringe right here on his shoulder muscles. So I like to keep in mind the direction of the body part. Whatever muscle it is. Like when I'm putting the fringe on like his shoulders here, I'm keeping in mind the shape and direction that the hair would flow and go. That's one of the, I think, personally, what I think is one of the key things of drawing hair is consider where the hair is coming from and how would it flow across the, oftentimes we're drawing hair on the head, but if you're drawing like a character that has fringe on the shoulders, you know, some half man, half animal, then these are things that are going to want to keep in mind, you know, on the body parts, even if it's just regular arm hair, which I'm definitely going to do. In fact, let's go ahead and put some arm hair on this. Got him flipped all the way upside down here, but I want a good angle on the arm. So I'm going to just focus on each muscle group. So we did there the bicep, not bicep, bicep. That little muscle there, whatever it's called. And over here on the, what's it, the tricep. Then the forearm muscles just angling around each muscle. Like, they're just not thrown in willy-nilly. You just don't throw in lines in every different direction. You want them to curve to the body. Let them help inform the viewer of the shape of the muscle. It's going to look a little more believable. And it's going to give your character, I think, a little more weight. We'll have some straps here. We're going to have a lot of straps and wires hanging off this guy. Nice thing about drawing digitally is I can draw these wires in later, come in and use the erase tool to help differentiate what's what. See, so I initially was just drawing regular shoulder here, but I want fringy shoulder. Keeping in mind the muscle grouping, and then just pulling these lines around. Beef up these helmet lines here a little bit so that helmet pops off against the other head a bit more. Start to work in one of the foreground pieces of tech. So let's bump this up back up to a 20. I've been using a 17 point for most of the time here. So I'm just freehanding this this tech in right now, just because it's a little. There's just a pencil stage here. If we are able to move this to inks, I'll probably use more drafting tools to get some slightly cleaner lines. But Not quite sure yet. Definitely have options. So we have a lot of straps coming in here, a lot of straps holding all this tech on him. It's all mismatched and all over the place. Start to work on the kind of the more of his torso here. Again, continues to be hairy. So much hair. What was I thinking? Oh man. This might be the hairiest character I've maybe ever drawn. Could very well be the hairiest character definitely the hairiest character I've done a mashup of. Absolutely that. Put some hair on those knuckles there. Then we have some shadows. They have some very tasteful shadows cast from the tech here. For Weapon X. So we'll do the same here. Probably have some fringe hanging down. Keep the wear junk appropriately covered. So it's really playing up the shadows. Down through here. All right, moving on to some legs. So we have 2 legs, an arm, and then just a bit more tech and a bunch of wires to throw in here. We'll have the pencil stage done. So trying to keep in mind this is as much of a man as it is a aware beast, aware Cerberus. If you just tuned in, this character mashup, Wolverine and a Cerberus. So it's kind of a were Cerberus, a Cerberus. With some fringe here on the back of his dog-like calves. Have another big chunk of tech. This guy was wearing a lot of computer bits. But back in, when did this story come out? Like in 1989, I want to say? 1989, 1990, maybe? So technology back then wasn't what technology is now. I'm sure if they were to, and heck, that was of Wolverine's past, so that was even prior to 1990. So that was maybe 1960s tech, we could say, potentially. So, and this would have been high tech for that era. Well, time moves differently in comics, so what would have been 1960s and 1990 would maybe not be so as, but I'm saying a lot of words here. What I'm trying to say is this is some very antiquated tech compared to if Weapon X were to be created now. I do not think they would need as much clunky, chunky hunk of tech as they did back then, I guess is the point ultimately I'm trying to make in a very clumsy way. Oops, flipped off the wrong layer, onto the wrong layer. Let me get back on the correct layer. Okay, let's see, I want to maintain that fringe on his calves. So just pulling that around. Just kind of keeping in mind the direction of the calf. Definitely have some foreshortening going on here. The thighs coming forward, and then his dog-like legs are kicking backwards and then down. So I had to keep in mind these shapes and what is moving forward and backward. And then he's got his big poochy paws. With claws, of course, of course. So I'm only giving him 3 toes here. He should probably have, dog would have 4 toes, right? Just going to do a quick search for dog foot. So how's that? 1, 2, 3, 4. I see how they're kind of put together there, and then you got that 1/5 one underneath. So that should work. Wasn't sure how many toes of a dog's paw is really showing. But this is a monster, so you know we can make things up as necessary, or this is just the first iteration of the design. So things can always be tweaked if necessary. But it does help pulling up dog reference, you know, so I can get some accuracy. So don't ever feel that you can't use reference. When you're drawing from real life, you're looking at real life and then translating that your way. So it's okay to look at real life and figure out how you want to translate that. Nothing wrong. No shame in referencing what it is, because I'm not drawing the dog's foot the way I'm seeing it here on my Google search. I'm just seeing the shapes and then taking that information and then utilizing it for what I am doing here, for the angles I have created. I just need to know I guess the best way to put it, the science of a dog's foot. For a little more believability for this very, very fictitious character. And that's the line we kind of walk oftentimes, is we want to create a certain level of believability, but then also have freedom to just really create something that's just out there, you know? That's completely unrealistic. It's this weird line of walking between realistic and unrealistic simultaneously. And even these aren't realistic dog feet, but it gives the illusion. It gives the illusion of that. And that's okay. That can work. Let's get this other arm going. Oh, I've gotten a lot of work done here, gang. We got three-headed dog Wolverine. This is crazy. We turn the canvas around here, get the correct angle I would like to get this other hand drawn. So we have these claws, just gonna freehand these in for now. That other knuckle. Get a nice little slight curve here. You can see here on this first claw, crisscross lines. Not anymore. Just go in there and make a slight adjustment. And we are golden. Remove that bit of knuckle, which we wouldn't see because it's hidden behind the claw. Throw some hair on these knuckles. Throw some wires and straps across this arm before I get too crazy with the hair. See, and then so I've drawn over those muscle lines I've drawn. I can come in with my eraser, just pull those right out. We are set. Maybe one more crisscross. I lied. A second one. See, this line would carry over through here. Now we just need to throw in some arm fringe on this one. Let's see. So from this angle, maybe the arm fringe is hanging more down, or do we want? You know what? I don't want it hanging straight down. I want it kind of flaring back a little bit. By a little bit, I mean significantly. Now to put in some of the arm hair, again, just going to wrap it around the body parts here. All right, so much of my thought has gone into this illustration, gang. I'm so sorry I haven't been able to really respond to any questions or comments. I do apologize for that. This is definitely a big thinker sort of illustration here. A lot of details, a lot of things to consider. Like when I'm creating a character or I'm creating a design, so much more thought that has to go into it than, say, drawing Spider-Man, which I've done a bajillion times. he's a bit easier for me to draw and talk at the same time. And even though I'm talking with y'all now, I'm kind of talking about what I'm working on. So it's kind of helping me stay focused on what it is I want to do, trying to do, need to do. So I do apologize that I'm not as interactive. I know I tend not to be able to focus too much on the comments that come in because I am focusing on the art. But I like to try to catch a comment or two or a question or two if I can. And I think so far I've responded to one, maybe two comments, or one comment, one question. Just so much that comes scrolling by on my screen. It's a little difficult to respond to them all, but I want you to know I do truly appreciate the comments during the live stream and on the videos themselves in the comment section below. Fortunately, I'm not always able to respond to them all, but I do try to read them all if I can, and respond whenever I am capable, even though it's difficult to always do that. I do want you to know I do appreciate it, is ultimately what I'm wanting to say. I do appreciate y'all's support. Thanks for coming to hang out with me. Thanks for drawing along with me. And yeah, so it really means a lot. So I just want to make sure that doesn't go unsaid. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So now I want to put some of those wires. He's got like helmet wires that hang down. Oh, and he's got these little sticky offy parts too, like these little antennae, which will be very dangerous for the other heads when you have these little spokes sticking off the helmet. So we're gonna get some wire action going here. And then just cleaning out the center part of that wire. Drawing digitally can really be nice for this kind of layering of details. Get another wire, maybe coming all the way down to this one here. So sometimes instead of using the eraser, like right now, I'm still using my pencil tool, but I've chosen the color of clear. So it essentially is erasing, but with a pencil sort of pressure, which can be nice. I often will do that when I'm inking as well, instead of using the eraser. Sometimes I use the eraser if I just have to do a big swipe, get rid of all this. But if I want fine detail erasing, I'll just use the clear of whatever pencil or pen nib I am using at the time. And I just kind of personally like the way it looks, or the way it works. It's an even better way to put it. Let's see. Let's put a wire coming off from back here down to this machine. So I'll go from black to clear. Just beef up these claw lines a bit. We should put some wires running across his thigh here. Let's see. A wire dangling off from behind here. Sometimes they have those little, yeah, these wires that are around his arm, coming around from the back, kind of restricting him a little bit. Dangle that wire a little bit more. So put some wires off the other side of the head. Let's see. Just going to pre-clear out a space here through the hair. This one will dangle down through here. I'll switch back to black. Add this wire. And there's a lot of details on this guy. We'll bring that wire all the way up to there. I'll switch back to clear and erase out the center part. I have a nice clean wire overlapping everything. So you put some connectors, wire connectors through here, like some of these little pluggy parts. Just gives a little bit more detail. Pull some hairs down off the top of his head through his face. And there's just so much. Just I see another thing here or there that I can add or tweak or. So at some point here, I'm just going to have to say, this is where we're at, especially for this pencil stage here. How long have we been going? We've been going for about an hour, huh? That's a pretty good length here, length of time. All right, so something I noticed here is that, oops, that's the wrong tool. I need the lasso tool. What I want to do here is feel like these side heads got a little bit bigger than the center head. So what I'm going to do is just select it. I can size it down a little bit. Kind of shift it into place. Just make it a little bit more proportional, I guess I would say, to the rest of the body and the head. So I can just select it, then grab these nodes, size it down a little bit. Let's see, then come in and fill in any gaps, like over here on this right-hand arm. Let me zoom this out a bit. Just going to select the whole thing, and I'm going to size it down just a little bit so it's not just bumping up against the edge of the artboard. Gives us just a little wiggle room here. Actually, let's back that up. And going to select the underneath layers as well so that they all size down with it as well, just in case. Let's see, what are my thoughts on the New Mutants? I'm very excited about the New Mutants series here at Dawn of X. I've been a fan of the New Mutants since I was a teenager, so they're characters I really care about. Big fan of Rod Reese's work. He's a friend, and I'm very excited to see him drawing the New Mutants series. So I look forward to when that issue comes out. I think it might be, is it next week? Is this next week or really soon here? So I've enjoyed the first two Dawn of X titles, the X-Men and Marauders. So my thoughts on New Mutants, I like them a lot, and I look forward to seeing this new Dawn of X title and what they do with that. Add another little wire right there. Just kind of cut across, just design-wise. Excuse me, just gives us a little another detail that kind of pulls things across there. Maybe there's a wire back on this side over here. Just kind of picking places to utilize the space. And just kind of shadow it out as it rolls back behind him. All right, then I can turn off my blue line layer and just have the digital graphite pencils. So I'm going to come up here into this hair here. Man, I'm tempted to keep going, gang. I know we've been working here for about an hour and 10 minutes. I so much want to go ahead and just put in the inks as well, just because I want to see how it all comes together. But I'm not sure if that's a wise idea with how much time we've spent here. Don't want to make the video too long. All right, looks like people are saying, Inks, do it. Did I go to LA Comic Con? I did go to LA Comic Con, but not as an exhibitor. I went as just more or less an attendee. I just went just do some Peter B. Parker cosplay. I met up with my friend Bunny B, who does a super, super awesome Spider-Gwen from the Into the Spider-Verse. And then met up with several great Spider cosplayers, especially some Miles Moraleses, Akira Dubs, Lexter Santana, Jalen, I think it's Jalen Mills, J Mills. Met quite a few great Miles Moraleses, but definitely took a lot of photos with Lexter and Akira Dubs. Hopefully y'all have seen those on my Instagram posts. So we took a lot of photos, got to take some great photos with York in a Box and Gil Photography, and a lot of great people that stopped by and asked to take photos. And then met some great Spider-Man Noirs as well. Got to meet some Spider-Man Noirs. Zoom Plays is the one I think I took the most photos with. So I just did that for the day of LA Comic Con, and just really just had fun, just there as a fan and doing the cosplay and getting to take some cool Spider-Verse pics. So did not exhibit. I'd just come back from New York Comic Con just like the 2 days before, so I was not don't think I was recovered enough to exhibit for a full weekend so close to returning from New York, which was a great con, super duper crazy busy. So I chose not to exhibit at LA Comic Con. I did come by for cosplay. Did I make that clear? Sorry, my brain is so much in thinking mode here. All right, I am tempted to move to inks. Let's see. So what I do is lower the opacity of the graphite line, create a new layer here, which I can call inks. Call this layer here pencils. This blue layer would have been, I'd call it the rough. And that red layer that we started with was initially the sketch. So we'll turn off the previous layers. So we had the sketch layer here, just really rough sketch, getting all the placement. Then from that, we built the rough layer here. Then from there, the pencil layer. So you see it goes step by step by step by step. And now I can lower the opacity. Let's just try some inks. What do y'all say? We'll just try some inks here. Let's turn on the ink layer there. So my inking tool is a Frenden brush I got from Frenden, F-R-E-N-D-E-N, Frenden. So I'm using the Inker G-Nib, is my favorite of the inking tools. And I have it set to the pen size of 30 initially. And yeah, I haven't done any settings to it. I haven't adjusted anything. It's just straight from what I purchased from Friendin. Bought these a couple of years ago, and really like them. So if you, I don't remember, I'm sure if you search Friendin brushes, Clip Studio paint brushes, they'll probably be pretty easy to find. And now I just come in and just sculpt out those shapes. Much of my inking digitally is the same mentality that I use for when I'm inking traditionally, is considering my light source and then keeping that in mind to reflect what it is I'm inking. So more than likely, not a hard fast rule, but more than likely the thicker lines will be on the bottom part, as you see me inking each plate here on the on his helmet. The thicker line oftentimes is the bottom to convey a shadow. That's just one aspect of why I would do a thick line versus a thin line. Also consider thick to thin. Thicker lines push us closer to the foreground. Thinner lines can move us further into the background. So those are two key aspects: lighting and distance. And the nice thing about inking digitally is when you're inking traditionally, I like to go thin because I can always go thick, but you can't make thick lines thinner again. Not without the use of like whiteout or something, or white paint or whatever. But with digital, if the line is too thin, you can make it thicker. If the line is too thick, you can make it thinner. So that is a benefit. Let's see, here's a question from Dingus Hedgehog. Interesting name. Let's see, is a college degree required for your field of work? And if so, what types of classes do you recommend? From my experience, a college degree is not required to draw comics. I do have a degree, an Associate of Applied Arts degree, so it's a very minimal, kind of the bare minimum degree. It's not even a bachelor's, it's a step before bachelor's degree. But that has never come into play. No employer, no publisher I've worked with has ever asked, what is your degree in? I found going to art school to be a benefit for me. It helped me learn how to, get my art skills tighter. It helped me to learn how to manage deadlines and work under pressure. Because it was almost like art school is like, especially at the Art Institute of Dallas where I attended, it was like my instructors were my editors, my employers. And I had a project due each quarter for each class. So I had five projects due each quarter. And that was on top of still teaching myself how to learn how to draw comics. They did not teach anything whatsoever at all about comics in the least, at least not when I attended. They didn't even have the animation program that they later introduced in the late 90s. So, which I probably would have taken if that had been an option. But I studied commercial art and graphic design. And I just applied what I learned there. Life drawing classes, design classes, storyboard classes, perspective classes, fashion illustration classes. illustration classes. It all lent itself towards leveling up my drawing skills. So, so I think from my personal experience, art school was a benefit for me. It helped me get to where I wanted to be faster. Of course, mind you, that also was the early 1990s, and the internet was not public, YouTube did not exist, and now there's so many things you can learn on YouTube, and hopefully my videos are a help and benefit to y'all. So you know, there's a lot of ways to learn other than school, but whether you go to school or don't go to school, we're always going to be learning as artists. There's always something new to learn. There's always something to practice. You never have it all figured out. From my experience, it's figure it out as I go, learn more, and figure more out. So it's not like if you go to art school, you come out of it with knowing everything. You'll know a lot, you'll know more than you did, but there's still more to learn. There's still more to teach yourself, more to experience, more ways to challenge oneself. And for me, that's been learning how to draw digitally, which the first, I think I'm just now, obviously now I finally got to a point where I feel comfortable enough with it to do a live art broadcast, a live art video. So this is something I've been asking for, but I just wasn't comfortable enough with my skills until now. And to where it's like, okay, I think I have something worthwhile to bring to the community, video-wise. So I hope you're liking what you see and enjoying this. So, very long roundabout way to answer your question. Is it required to get a job? From my experience, I have not ever had a publisher ask for that. Has it been a benefit to me to have attended art school? Absolutely. I don't think I would have gotten into my career as quickly as I did if I hadn't had some art school training. And I did the full course. I did all 2 years of the 2-year program. I saw it all the way through to the end. And I'm glad I did. It worked out for me. I hope it works out for you, or whatever paths each artist choose, whatever it is you choose to do. I think it's a decision each artist has to make for themselves in where their skills are at, where their goals, they hope to take them. Because there's not one pat answer for everyone, I don't think, especially in this regard. It's all based on each person and what is going to get someone where they want to be. Because I thought I could break into comics on sheer talent alone, and maybe one day I could have. But I realized after 1.5 years, it was taking longer than I wanted. And that's why I decided, you know what? I'm going to go to art school. I'm going to go to the Art Institute of Dallas. I will study their commercial art and graphic design program. I will take what they teach me there and apply it to comics, because I know where it is I want to go. I just need a little help, a little coaching, and that could really, hopefully, will help me get to where I want to be. And spoiler alert, I got hired 1 year after graduating. I got hired full-time. I already started getting small comic book projects, so I'm using the magic wand tool, selecting the areas that I want to be black. I'm going to extend it out by 1 pixel, and then hit the fill bucket. Whoa, that looks like I didn't close off a line on the tongue there, so I need to undo all that. Oops, not the pencil, I need inking tool. Close off that line there. Now, back to magic wand, expand it, and fill it. Boom, done. So yeah, I got hired. Oops, that's a pencil tool again. I don't want pencil. I want inks. Yeah, I got my first paid published gig while still as an art student in quarter number late 6, early 7, I believe it was, of 8 quarters. And those are semesters. We had 4 quarters a year instead of 2 college semesters. It was 4 quarters. There were 11-week quarters. So I was in school for 11 weeks, then off for a week, school for 11 weeks, off 3 weeks for the summer, and then off for a week for the fall, and then off 3 weeks for the Christmas holidays. When I say fall, I mean like early September, I think it was. Oops, looks like my stylus gagged a little bit there. I could just easily pull those little blops out. Appreciate y'all hanging out with me. If you have to, the video goes too long and you need to step away, please do come back and watch the rest at your leisure. Okay, so hopefully through this inking stage, I'll be able to really tighten up like the hair here. In fact, I'm going to pump this up to a 50. Really get these sideburns and hair really going in a Wolverine fashion. Really want to try to capture that, a bit of that Barry Windsor Smith sort of flow to the hair. He just did such a great job with that Weapon X storyline back in the day. Really definitive. Such a great style, such a great artistic approach. I mean, just made it so distinct. It's kind of fun to see how things come together bit by bit by bit. Sometimes I'll turn off the pencil layer just to see what the inks look like without all the pencil underneath. Oops, turned off the ink layer. I had to turn on the pencil layer again. Let's see, let's get this wire over here going. Oh, come back. Where's my illustration? think we accidentally zoomed in here. Let me try zooming out. There we go. There it is. So you get back to where I was. Now I use this, see I ink some of the hair over the wire. Now I can just come in here and clean out that part I don't want. Power back down to the 30. What's fine in here is I can see I'm back to black, now I'm back to clear. I can pull just some, cut with some, essentially would be white. Ooh, that. Not what I wanted. So that's a nice thing about inking digitally. So you can do really cool effects that are far, far more difficult to do traditionally. Not to say that I'm not capable of doing it traditionally, just it can be a bit more difficult. Not to say difficult is bad, and that easy is good. But sometimes when you're working under a time crunch, sometimes easier can be more time effective. Oops, I accidentally turned on the red layer. Do not want the red layer. Okay, let's work on this head up here. Let's go back to the 50 for the hair. Oops, let's see. Back up here, we got a, there we go. Sometimes that, if I don't watch where I put my hand or my palm can put a little clump there, I move too faster than the computer can keep up with. Can translate as a clump. I have to be mindful of that, but that's pretty, it's not too often. Let's see, how do I determine a line weight when working digitally? You often have trouble with it being way too thick or way too thin. Well, I check the size of the nib that I'm using, and I'll test it out, and if I feel that it's too thick, then I'll power down to a thinner nib until I get to the size that I feel most comfortable with working with. And then I approach my my inking in a very similar fashion, the same sort of mentality as I would if I were inking traditionally, is thicker lines being oftentimes or sometimes where the shadow is, like the under parts of things, and the thinner line being where the light is hitting. Or if I'm considering depth. So I want thicker lines to convey closer to the foreground and thinner lines to convey further into the background. and like the thick and thin can make things pop. So I'm like here with this dark hair, I'm clumping up thicker lines from the center of the head towards the outer part of the head, but in the inner part is oftentimes a thinner line. And everything has a different texture. The hair is a different texture from the helmet, which is a different texture than the cables. But the helmet can be a similar texture to the chunks of computer hardware hanging off of his belt. But the straps are a different texture. So these things I'm going to keep in mind. Sometimes it's a drastic difference. Sometimes it's a barely noticeable difference or no difference at all. But they are things that I'm keeping in mind as I ink. What am I inking? And what are the necessary details to convey that? So those are some of my approaches to inking, and hopefully you're picking up some tricks here as you watch me ink here. So I'm using either the 30 or the 50 of this G-Nib Frienden inking brush, or inking pen, I guess technically. This is more of a pen, digital pen. In fact, I'm still using the 50. I should power it back down to the 30. Like for the eyebrows there, letting the lines feather. Letting them arc as they need to and pull around to where they need to flow to. And something that takes some time to develop is life to your line. A lot of times when we start inking, I think it's a natural thing for any of us when we start inking, is that our lines can be a bit stagnant or a bit kind of be a dead line. There's not a lot of life to it. And I think with continued practice and looking at what it is I am inking, what is it I'm trying to convey, and what is the shape of the line that I'm making, can create bounce and life, can create a spark, because that's, I think, the thing I like most in my inks, or when I'm approaching inking, I should say, is what is the spark to the character, to the shapes that I'm working with, and how that relates to the character. And sometimes it's almost not something that can be, I don't even know how to explain it at this time. Maybe someday I'll be able to explain it a bit better, or be able to put words to it where it can come across that maybe people can utilize a way to find their spark in their inks, their life and bounce and movement to the inks. So it's not just flat, dead lines. But a lot of it can just, for me right now, it's just trial and error. Just where did things look kind of flat or dead? And in my next illustration, how can I really create some fun in that line? Where can I vary the thick and the thin? To find more life. Oops. And look at some of your favorite inkers. That's one thing I would do, is study some of my favorite inkers, like Klaus Janson. I love the energy in his lines. So much energy in his lines. Scott Williams's work over Jim Lee. Dan Green over Mark Silvestri and Jim Lee on X-Men. Actually, something that really I found really beneficial was Marvel puts out these collections of their comics that are just in black and white on newsprint. And I found one for X-Men's Inferno, and I picked it up just because Inferno is one of my favorite X-Men storylines. And in there, and as I was looking through it, it's like, this is, you know, looking at the black and white art, I really couldn't help but focus on the inks. And I could see the inks in a new way without the color in the way. So next time you're at the comic shop, look to see if they have any of those, look to see if your shop has any of those black and white newsprint collections of Marvel Comics. DC does them as well. DC ones are called Showcase. Marvel ones are called, I don't have mine handy at the moment. I think it's still, oh, is that it over there? I can't quite see. I'm too tethered to the computer here. But I think they're called Epic Collections, Marvel Epic Collections, I believe. Check to see if your shop has those. And look to see if there's any artists or inkers that really wow you, inspire you, and it can be a really great resource to study a master like that and see just their inks without the colors being a factor in there. It's definitely a different comic visual experience, I would say. It can be definitely a great way to learn, being able to see the inks without the color. I think can be a good resource for your inking game. Have I seen Joker yet? No, I haven't. I did see Downton Abbey though. My wife and I were into that show. So we made a date night to go see Downton Abbey. And it was good. If you like Downton Abbey, it was fun to revisit those characters, see them again. Since the TV series has ended. Probably not the movie y'all would expect me to be talking about here as a comic book creator. But, surprise, I'm a Downton head. I didn't think I'd be, but I told my wife, I'll watch the first episode with you, and if I get bored, I'll just draw while you watch, and dang it, if I didn't get hooked right at the beginning. Had to watch all 5 seasons. I'll say this, Mr. Carson, that guy knows how to run a house. Mad respect for Mr. Carson and Mrs. Hughes. We got any other Downton heads watching? Uh-oh, your phone is only at 1%. Plug into a charger, man. We've only just started inks. Get thee to a charger ASAP. It's interesting to have Wolverine with all his hair here and being so feral, so dog-like, how much he looks like the Beast. Without color, one could easily import or visualize this as Hank McCoy, especially during his Grant Morrison cat-like look. So let's get these teeth drawn in here. So let's see, my iPad's getting low on battery. Need to put that back on so I don't lose track of y'all. You have never seen an episode of Downton Abbey. Ah, well, if you have Amazon Prime, consider it. Might not be your cup of tea. I didn't think it'd be mine, but somehow I got interested in the story right out of the gate. It was fun to have that show to share with my wife. Darn it. Gotta do a little cleanup there. Hope this isn't because my computer is getting hopefully not too overheated. That keeps glopping like that. Those little blops. All right, so I think I've got all my lines closed off here, so we'll do the magic wand trick. W for magic wand, click that up there, expand by 1, fill, boom. Oh, now what we can do here is go back to the pen tool, clear, and then draw in some saliva. Because you know a feral Wolverine, a Cerberus Wolverine, is going to have saliva everywhere. Now, that will get into color stage, but then again, I didn't think we'd be getting to the ink stage this go around. Let's turn off the pencils and see how this looks so far. Bloop. There we go. 2 out of 3 Cerberus heads. Cerberus, I'm sorry, not Cerberus, Cerberus. Cerberus is something completely different. Cerberus is an aardvark. And until Spawn 301 was the longest running indie title, consecutive indie title, it held that record until Spawn 301 just this past month. So Dave Sims, creator of Cerberus, was the longest running indie comic creator. Until Spawn overthrew Cerberus. Some buckles here. Go back to the 50. Start putting in that shoulder wear Cerberus fringe. Yeah, I'm liking how that's looking. Let's just continue this side here. Took me a while to learn how to do these swoops, to really find the confidence to give the swoop. And the thing I learned here in digital inks is that you can overshoot your line, and then because you want to just get that correct initial arc to your line, and then you can just erase the part you don't need and then just continue from there like I just did. So it's really kind of developing this mentality of, now I have to be careful when I go back to traditional, because can't really overshoot a line traditionally, but it does give me confidence and helps me build up that confidence, I should say. As I say, practice can build confidence rather than practice makes perfect. Practice builds confidence in our skills. So it gives me that confidence to just sling that line down and then course correct whatever it is I don't want. Oh, and white, that's the reason why I don't want white. I want clear. Using white does me no good. I want clear. Yeah, Danny Mickey's always a reckonable style. Love it. Yeah, Danny Mickey is a great inker. He and I were Extreme Studio mates back in the mid-90s when I got hired to work for Rob Liefeld. He was already there as one of Rob's top inkers. Definitely appreciate Danny's skills, for sure. Danny, Norm Ratmond, Marlo Alquiza, Jonathan Sabal, and then of course Larry Stucker, who I'm still great friends with, one of my best pals, and I still see him on a regular basis, even though he no longer does comic book inks anymore. He and I were paired up together as young artists in the early days, and later went on to do Young Justice at DC Comics together, as well as the Teen Titans comic book based on the first cartoon, the original adventure cartoon. So now layering in these arm hairs. Just lightly throwing them in there. I could also power down to a thinner nib tip if I wanted. Definitely an option as well. Or just lightly brushing in because because of the pressure sensitivity of the stylus, which is nice. Let's see, now with these claws here, now this is a trick I just kind of made up here, is I could use one of the curve tools in the digital toolbar here. But what I find is I just grab my French curve, as you've seen me use in other Wolverine illustrations here on my channel in traditional art. And I just put this on the screen, and just use it as the same way as I would if I were drawing on paper. It's just a little faster and easier for me to do than figuring out the digital guideline tool aspect thingy. Gets the job done. And then just take off the excess there. And then just keep it rolling. So I'm going to power this down to a 30 here. Oops. Just for a little more control, a little finer line. Let's see, what comic characters am I currently working on for new comics? Spider-Man? X-Men? You know what? I'm not allowed to say at the moment. I look forward to Marvel announcing my next project, so until they say something, I can't say anything. But there is new stuff to come in 2020, so stay tuned. As soon as I'm allowed to talk about it, I will make sure to tell all of you. But unfortunately right now, my lips are sealed. But I am excited about it. I can't wait to clue everyone in. Very, very excited. But I better not say any more, because I don't want to accidentally let the cat out of the bag. And that's not a clue, or is it? Or is it not? It could or could not be at the same time. Or not, or definitely is. We just don't know. Is this a Wacom tablet I'm using? Yes, it is. It's the Wacom MobileStudio Pro. And how is the net? You know, I wish I knew. As you know, people, this is live TV, so I'm working without a net, and that's because a net did not show up for the studio, as always, to help me run these live streams. So how's she doing? I hope she's well, because she ain't here. How we doing, everybody? So sorry, I get just so engrossed in what I'm doing. Sometimes I forget to get to chat. Am I enjoying my time at Marvel versus going to DC? I am enjoying my time at Marvel, and I enjoyed my time at DC. I loved working on the books I did at DC. Still have a lot of great friends at DC. I still have a lot of characters that I love there at DC. Maybe someday I'll get to do work for DC again. But right now, Marvel just keeps, they keep me hopping. They keep, throwing one project at my way after another. So, I'm definitely having a great time there, but either company, from my experience, is, a lot of people who want to do fun, cool comics and do the best work we can, whether it be Marvel or DC or Dark Horse or Image/Skybound when I was working for Kirkman. So it's really been a really cool community of people who have grown up loving comics and continue to love comics, and we want to do cool comics. So that is a constant amidst every company that I've worked with. Well, you got me on your TV while you're reading Young Justice. That is what we call a win-win. Thanks so much for tuning in. All right, let's turn off the pencils and see how he's coming together here. Pretty cool. In fact, what I want to do is come in with this clear and cut some stray hairs through that black. Makes it look a little more chaotic. See, back to black, still using the size 30 nib. This is a long broadcast. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. If you just tuned in, welcome. Doing a mystery, or not a mystery, this is a character mashup challenge. My character mashup challenge, first one in a long time. This one's a little more Halloween themed. I asked for people on Instagram to name a character, a comic book character, and a monster. And I randomly chose one for the one person's suggestions for the character, which ended up being Wolverine, the comic book character. And then I ran the random number generator again to find a randomly one of the comments to pick the monster, which ended up being Cerberus, the Three-headed Dog. And this is what I'm working on now, what I'm calling Cerberine. Half Cerberus, half Wolverine, all animal. So in creating this, the storyline in my head, thought that a Weapon X version of Wolverine would play well for Cerberus, be more feral, and look really cool, but also an insane amount of detail. I mean, I'm already having to draw 3 heads, and now I'm having to draw so much more tech and body hair. I just added that coiled cord there because coiled cords are cool, and I did not mean for that much alliteration in one sentence, but I stand by it. So I'm choosing to draw this this tech freehand, not using any drafting tools. I'm hoping this wasn't a bad idea. Just wanted to have that kind of, I don't know, dirty tech sort of look. Not so crystal clean and polished. I know this video is running long, so for those of you that have tuned in, or if you're watching this after the live broadcast and you see that there's a new video to watch and you're hanging with me, thank you so much for that. Probably for future videos like this, I might not, at least for future tablet digital drawing videos, maybe I won't do pencils and inks, at least not on a character this complicated. But if anything, it shows you just kind of what I do when I have to draw a character this complicated. You just kind of hunker down and you just stay focused. I'll break it down from like chunk to chunk. So like the first head, the center head, then that led to the second head, then that led to the chest, then that led to an arm, and I did the whole right arm. Now I'm working on the center part of the chest, and then that will lead over to, you know, the midriff, and drawing, you know, working on the tech on the side, and just kind of working my way from left to right, top to bottom, and just focusing on just that aspect alone, but keeping in mind how it connects to everything else. So sometimes I'll just focusing on this one computer chunk, and but then I'll take a step back and see, is it matching up with everything else? So it's a constant focus of, or constant, what's the word I'm looking for? Not necessarily focus, constant. Good grief, I can't believe my brain is totally fritzing out. Making these decisions to hyper focus on one area, then pull back and see, how does it all fit? Is everything, are all the lines, or all the line weights creating a cohesive image? I don't have one head that has really thick lines and then another head that has really thin lines, or one claw has, or one hand is a really thick line, so it's way in the foreground, but the other claw and hand are really thin lines, so now it looks like it's further in the background, so it looks lopsided, it looks disjointed. I don't want that. So I gotta keep in mind a consistency in the line weights for whatever objects are in similar, on a similar plane, similar level, for lack of a better word. Better plug my tablet in, it's getting low on charge. Don't want this to run out of juice and shut down on us. Is it charging? Cool. In fact, I probably should save while I'm at it. Just in case the computer crashed, I wouldn't lose all this work. That would have been heartbreaking to have worked this long on it, gone this far, and then just to lose everything. That's one thing I have to get used to drawing digitally that I don't have to when I'm drawing traditionally, is saving my work. I have lost stuff in the past. So, lessons learned there. You should definitely consider wireless equipment and a haircut. I totally agree. I totally agree. I think a trip to the Apple Store and the Supercuts would really do Cerberus a world of difference. Don't know if it'd make life better for him, but it could make it different. All right, where are we at? There we go. About to move over to different parts of Cerberus. Some fading from the dark shadows of the tech covering his pelvic area. So it's very, so we have a lot of like hair on his abdomen, and then it's creating a fade as we move up towards his chest. And then we get all this chest hair in. Very Magnum PI. Tom Selleck Magnum PI, not the current Magnum PI in CBS. Don't know if that guy has a hairy chest or not. I have not tuned in. But Tom Selleck, 1980s, hairy chest. So all these little hairs are pulling across his chest in a very deliberate direction and manner. Ooh. And that helps with the shape of his chest. It's not just a bunch of lines crisscrossing in the wrong different directions, which doesn't make it look, it just doesn't look right. Doesn't give shape or form to his chest. And that's what you want to do. Because if I like just went in here and like say this, if I just started doing lines like this everywhere, it doesn't achieve the goal I want. It makes him look like road rash maybe, or like he got beat up, or he's got a bunch of cuts, which can be fine if that's the effect you're looking for. But if you're looking to draw hair, it's going to look a bit more natural if it's all flowing from one place to the next. All right, so we're back up here to the top head, or almost. Let's get this strap drawn in. We gotta start putting in the other side of center head's hair. He also needs the Tom Selleck pants, of course. Of course he does. Yeah. Ideally, he should have a Hawaiian shirt, you know, unbuttoned down to his navel as well. But it looks like that ship has sailed. I am not going back to add a Hawaiian shirt. Now, this had been a Wolverine Cerberus Magnum PI mashup. Then I would have been thinking about adding that Hawaiian shirt and those pants, those khaki pants. Or even those, like, short 1980s, like, dolphin shorts. Could even go that route. All right, let's take a look at what this looks like without the pencils. Wow. Coming together bit by bit. About almost at the halfway mark. Almost at the halfway mark. Oh my gosh. See that? Black. Let's see, we need to... finish out this side over here. See, almost time to tackle that other head. See, go back to the 50 here for the hair. Get the ears going here. The muzzle. Let's go ahead and click save real quick. Fan's really kicking in again. Hopefully we can make it through all the inks here. Oh man, it's really gagging up. I'll switch it to a 30 here for the face. That'll help. Zoom in here for the teeth. Make it really dark underneath the eye here. Get the bottom teeth going. Do I use the default brushes or pens? I do not. I purchased a set of the Frenden, F-R-E-N-D-E-N, pens and brushes and pencils, and I've been using those pretty exclusively. I have not adjusted any of those, so I'm using those in their default settings at this time. Really content with that, so haven't bothered to fiddle with them yet. So yeah, Frenden is the way I go. Bought these a couple of years ago, so I can't remember the exact place I got them, but I'm sure if you search Frenden, you'll be able to find that guy's online store. See, grab the old magic wand again. We'll fill in this mouth, expand it by 1, fill, boom. Take the clear, draw in some spittle. Let's pump it back up to 50 and keep working on this hair. Being mindful of how the right head's hair is interacting and overlapping with the center head's hair, so it doesn't become too muddied or cluttered. It's a lot of detail kicking in here together. So, trying to keep in mind directions. Finish off that chin. Now his neck. Okay, now we're going to do the shoulder fringe. Which I might want to pump this up to a 60. Again, just like the other side, keeping in mind the direction of the shoulder muscle and how the hair would pull across that. Click to clear. Now I'm not using white here. I'm just clearing. I'm using clear to erase so that when I color, the colors will show up through there. Now we're not going to have time to do the color today. That would be too much. That would be too long. So if we do color, that will have to be a separate broadcast. But yeah, this is not a matter of black and white. It's about black and transparent or clear. So if you look over here in my color palette, right next to the black, there's this little checker pattern. That is the kind of, I don't know, Photoshop equivalent of your transparency layer. Clip Studio Paint works a lot like Photoshop. There are many similarities, which helped because I was fairly familiar with Photoshop. I knew some of the basics, so utilizing Clip Studio Paint wasn't completely foreign to me. So it did give me a little bit of help in that learning curve, thankfully. So the program wasn't completely foreign. All right, so now we're really just to have an arm, a little bit of tech, and the legs, and we'll have this done, gang. Get this arm fringe going here. Pump that back up to 50. Power back down to 30. Take care of his hands here. Now, just like I did with the other hand, I'm actually going to use a 40 here. I'm going to use my my French curve on the actual surface of the tablet. So this is me pulling the stylus across the tablet. Oops, across the French curve that is sitting on top of the tablet screen. I just find this to be a bit easier, quicker and easier to do to achieve the look I'm going for. Rather than using, oops, doesn't line up right. Using there's some digital tools here that I can utilize to get the same effect, but I don't want to take the time to do that. So sometimes we'll just use a French curve or a circle or a ellipse template and just set it right on my screen and get the desired shape or line that I want. Let's come in here, do a little cleanup. And I got the desired effect, you know. Powered back down to 30 for some knuckle hair, finger hair. Oops. Now to tackle this arm hair. My goodness, we're hitting 2 hours and 45 minutes. This is going the length of a Avengers Endgame. Probably should have saved the inking video for a separate video. That was probably would have been a better way to go. Next time we'll break it up. Let's see. Has anyone asked what other artists I follow on my YouTube channel, or on YouTube? What YouTube channels I follow? As far as artists go, I'd probably say the ones I can definitely rattle off the top of my head are Ahmed Al-Douri. He is fantastic and very informative. So look him up. Aldoori, Ahmed Al-Douri. Really cool guy, fantastic artist. And Torian 00, or I think she goes by Juicy Ink here on YouTube, and she has some fantastic watercolor videos. So I'd say probably those are the two artists that I can name off the top of my head that I follow. I haven't really got into following a lot of YouTube channels here on the tube, but I follow different channels for different reasons. So probably the other channel I can definitely say I follow is the Aquabats. Have y'all heard of the Aquabats? Look them up. They are some really cool, funny, rockin' superhero rock stars. Hopefully you saw their Super Show when it was on the Hub Network. It used to be on Netflix. Really cool guys. One of my favorite bands. They're now doing new mini episodes on their YouTube channel that were just Kickstarter fundraiser last year, and in fact I'm a few episodes behind, so I got to get caught up on their latest mini episodes. It's really a fun, weird, cool, rockin' show. I dig their music as well as their show, like their TV show. Definitely has that kind of Saturday morning cartoon show flavor. Not that it's a cartoon. They do have a cartoon. They have an animated segment to their show as well, but it's a live action show for the most part, aside from the cartoon break. But definitely has that classic, vintage, old school Saturday morning feel. The kind of stuff I grew up on as a kid, like in the 1980s and stuff. Okay, so now we're down to pretty much just this last bit of tech and the legs. There's a light at the end of this tunnel, gang. My first digital art broadcast has been a long one. I probably will not let them be this long in the future. Try to keep them a little more bite-sized. Pencil video and inking video separate. Lesson learned. Especially for characters this detailed. Sometimes, you know, when you're having fun and you're feeling the vibe and you're rolling with it, you just want to keep on rolling. You want to keep the creative train going, for better or for worse. I think for worse here is we made this a super, super long video. So I guess it could be far worse. Actually, I should hit save. Speaking of worse, worst thing is when the computer crashes and you haven't saved. Man, keeps wanting to glop up there. I think this computer is getting tired. I definitely need to let this power down and rest soon. Not much more here to go. That leg fringe right there. Oops, don't like that last clump. All right, one more leg. One more leg, gang. This is it. I'm going to go hit save there right now, so if anything were to happen, all I have is just the one leg. Okay. So as you can see, again, we've been doing a lot of hair, a lot of hair, a lot of body hair, as well as a lot of animal hair. But again, I'm keeping in mind the shape of the leg and letting the lines curve around to that. That is something to be very mindful. Again, I'm going to show that just doing this. That's not the way we want to approach drawing the hair. Now I can just erase that. It doesn't look right. It doesn't give us a good sense of the shape of the leg, and that's what we want. We want to have a nice, If we're able to convey the shape of that leg, we're able to convey the power of that leg, the musculature. That's why we want to be very deliberate with our detail lines, whether it be hair, whether it be cross-hatching for shade or fading, or fade or shading, actually is probably a better way of saying that. These are the things we want to keep in mind. Start getting some doggy toes inked up. All right, come in with a little transparent, cut through there, cut through there. A little more dark shadow in that area. Cool, now let's see, I want to just give him a little shadow underneath, so I'm going to create another layer underneath him. I'm going to use my magic wand tool to select the entire perimeter. Oops, let's see, I didn't close off a line down here. So where is that line open? Oh, there it is, that's where the line was open. I'm going to close that off. Actually, I want to clean up a little bit of that here. Sharpen those toenails. All right, so now that the line is closed off, I can hit the magic wand tool, and now it's just putting marching ants all around the perimeter of the inks. I can go to the layer below it. So now I've only selected the background. I'm going to change my pencil to this charcoal, this soft charcoal. Pump it up to about a 100, 150. Let's try 150. And then with the black, zoom out here just a little bit so I can see the entirety. I'm going to drop a shadow underneath. It's just easier to do this on a separate layer. In case I don't like it, I can just take it away. Gives me a nice kind of fuzzy, gritty shadow underneath. You know what? I actually don't know if I like that. Let's try that again. Actually, I want to bump that up to a 300. That works. Let me put my autograph on it down here at the bottom. Let's make that at 80. And today is the 26th, right? It is. So 26 October 2019. Let's turn off the pencil layer, and boom, there we go. Hit save, and Cerberus, aka Weapon C, is complete. And gang, this was a lot of fun to draw. I can't believe we spent almost 3 hours working on this. I think I need to shut this computer down, or at least end this broadcast so the computer can rest. I will be posting a shot of this on my Instagram and my Twitter, and probably my Art of Todd Nauck Facebook page. All those links will be in the video description below, and they're on the below in all the video descriptions of all my videos, so you can follow me on all my different social media. Thanks so much for hanging out. I hope you had a good time. Hope you learned something, and I hope to do more digital art broadcasts and videos for the future now that I have the tech and ability to do that. So stay tuned for that. And I will continue to do traditional art as well. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I hope you had fun. Keep on drawing and keep having fun, everybody. I'm Todd Nauck. Take care. Bye-bye.